For section 4.3 of our Algebra 1 BJU textbook, we're going to discuss how to solve inequalities. So let's begin on how to solve these equations. If we have 5x minus 3 equals 17, we would add 3 to both sides, and then we would divide both sides by 5, and we would get x equals 4. For this next one, I would like to kill the fraction. So I would multiply everything by negative 7. So negative y over 7 times negative 7 gives us just y. And then negative 11 times negative 7 gives us 77. And then negative 3 times negative 7 gives us positive 21. And then I'll subtract 77 from both sides. And then I'll get y equals negative 56. So here's a little bit more complicated one. We have 6x minus 5 plus 8x equals x minus 7. So 6x plus 8x is 14x. And then I subtract x on both sides. So 14x minus x is 13x. And then I'm going to add 5 to both sides. So negative 7 plus 5 is negative 2. And then I'll divide both sides by 13. And then I get negative 2 over 13. So for this one, we would have to distribute the 3. So we get 3x plus 6 plus 19 equals 7. And then we would subtract both sides from the subtract 25 from both sides, and then divide both sides by 3. And we should get x equals negative 6. So solving inequalities is so similar to solving equations. And so in fact, if you can solve an equation, you can pretty much solve an inequality. There's just one small difference. If you are multiplying by or dividing by a negative number, you have to reverse the inequality symbol. That is the only difference between solving an inequality and solving an equation. So let's do some examples. Let's say we have 3x plus 5 is greater than 20. We would first subtract 5 from both sides, then divide both sides by 3, and then we get x is greater than 5. Next example, let's say we want to do this. So the first thing we would do is we subtract 8 from both sides, and then we multiply both sides by negative 3. But remember, when you multiply by negative, your sign flips. So then we get x is less than or equal to negative 12. Next example. So this one we have to distribute first. We have to distribute that negative 3. So negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. And then negative 3 times 2x is negative 6x. Then we'll combine like terms. 4x minus 6x becomes negative 2x. And then minus 6 is greater than 10. Then we'll add 6 to both sides. So now we have negative 2x is greater than 16. And then we'll divide both sides by negative 2. But remember, when you divide by a negative, your sign flips. So now we have x is less than negative 8. Next example. So for this one, we have to distribute on the right-hand side. So 5 times x is 5x, and then 5 times 6 is 30. Then we'll combine like terms. 5x minus 2x is 3x. Plus 30. And then we want to get all of our x's on the same side. So we'll subtract x from both sides. So now we've got 4 is greater than 2x plus 30. Then we'll subtract 30 from both sides. So now we have negative 26 is greater than 2x. Then we'll divide both sides by 2. So now we have negative 13 is greater or equal to x. And we're going to go ahead and flip that around. So now we have x is less than or equal to negative 13. All right, last example. Let's say that we are trying to build a garden and we have 60 feet of fence available. So 60 feet of fencing. And we know that the width of the garden, so how thick it is, has to be 5 feet more than half of the length. So the width needs to be 5 plus half of the length. So let's let W be width and L be length. So length is L. And so if length is L and we know that the width is half the length plus 5, instead of saying width is W, let's say that width is half of L plus 5, because that's what the width is. And so we know that our perimeter, we only have 60 feet available. And we know that our perimeter has to be 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. And we can't go over 60 because we only have 60 feet of fence. So we have 2L plus 2W is less than or equal to 60. Well, we just said that W is the same as saying L divided by 2 plus 5. So instead of saying W, I'm going to say L over 2 plus 5. So I substituted L over 2 plus 5 for W. So now I'm going to go ahead and distribute the 2. So 2 times L over 2 is L, and then 2 times 5 is 10. Then I'll combine like terms. 2L plus L is 3L. I'll subtract 10 from both sides, and then I'll divide both sides by 3, which tells me my length has to be less than or equal to 16 2/3 feet. So if my L has to be less than or equal to 16 2/3 feet, and my width is 1/2 of that plus 5, so half of 16 2/3 plus 5 is going to be 13 feet and 4 inches. Go ahead and try some problems on your own.